New Year, and thank you for joining us today for today's presentation by AARP Hawaii. I'm Miles Yoshioka, as most of you know. We're really grateful for AARP's membership with our chamber and their willingness to educate, support, and share information on topics relevant with our members and their employees, especially those of us that are 50 and over. Like I just squeaked by. So AARP also advocates at the legislature to protect, fund, and improve services for caregivers and families, and creates opportunities, for all of us to save and plan for retirement. Before we go into today's presentation, I'd like to go around the room quickly and ask everyone to introduce themselves, if you're able. Maybe your name, position, and the company or organization you represent. Okay, so let's see. Let's go to Keola first and then followed by Nick.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I'm Keola, and now I'm not sure, Miles, because I'm going to share the company I'm with, but I'm not here for them at this moment, right? Is this kind of like a informational
Yeah, sure.
opportunity? But anyway, so I'm here, and I do work as the Career Academy Liaison here at Kamehameha Schools Hawaii. So I do vocational counseling and planning and post-high work with students.
Nice.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Aloha, I'm Nick Los Baños with the Alzheimer's Association, the regional coordinator for Hawaii Island. I'm here for two reasons, for myself too, but also, a lot of what I work with people who are, living with Alzheimer's and their families, and a lot of times, their retirement plans don't consider this, right? So just looking at it from that perspective as well, so I can, better provide them with resources. So thanks for putting this on today.
Thanks, Nick. Okay, let's go to Gordon, followed by Keith.
Hi, I'm Gordon. I've been a member of the Hawaii Island Chamber of Commerce for a number of years, past president, and I'm retired. Sorry guys, for those of you hardworking individuals. And I volunteer, unlike Nick that gets paid, I volunteer for the Alzheimer's Association. But anyway, that's it.
All right, and my name's Keith Merrick, and I'm a financial advisor with Edward Jones, and so retirement planning is a big part of what I do. So this is why it's important to me.
Yep, thanks, Keith. Let's see, let's follow with Daniel and then Helene.
Hello, I'm Daniel, General Manager for Prince Kuhio Plaza. Name of the company I actually work for is Brookfield Properties. And I'm in that over 50 category, so I'm interested to hear what I can do to better set my savings.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Helene, and I work for Hawaii Care Choices, and I'm joining in as similar as Jordan, I believe, as just trying to how I can better prepare myself. Thank you. Thanks,
Helene. And next, let's follow with Amy, and then I think it's Leanne. Amy, if you're able, Amy's busy at work. I think working on a puppy right now. Okay.
Hi there. Hello. I'm here. It's Amy.
Okay.
What you need? Sorry. Yeah,
No,
I'm working on a dog.
Yeah, okay. Let you get back to that. But Amy is with Sulin Kennels here in Hilo. So she does dog grooming, and I think she also does house sitting. Leanne.
Hi there. Aloha, Leanne Kami. Wearing multiple hats. I'm here representing myself, interested to learn more. And then also I work for Kamehameha Schools with our community and Aina resiliency team. And I work with a lot of small farmers and small business owners and just trying to learn any tools that I can help share. Mahalo.
Thanks for being here, Leanne. Okay, so we are very fortunate to have AARP Hawaii presenting today about how to strengthen retirement security. And they're providing a $25 gift card to the Temple Bar to one lucky attendee at the end of the presentation. So stick around, okay? Because if you're gone, no chance. We'd like to ask you to remain on mute, and we will have time for Q&A after. And keep your video on if you're able. Okay, I'd like to introduce Jackie Bolin, Community Outreach Director for AARP Hawaii, who will be introducing our guest speaker. Jackie.
Well, aloha. I'm a member of your chamber, which is why I think I get to do the introduction, but I do want to acknowledge my director down in your lower left corner, Kaylee Lopez, who's here as a listener, in case you don't know her. So she's our state director. If you're not familiar with AARP, we're a membership organization for people who are 50 and older, but what we do, we try to do for everyone. We fight on issues that are important to our members, and this includes retirement security. One of our visions is that people in Hawaii would have the resources and the information that they need to make good retirement decisions so that they can live the lives they want to live as they grow older. So part of that means advocating for people who don't have access to a way to save for retirement, and that's what you're going to hear about today. Before I hand the podium over to my colleague, Audrey, I do want to just do a couple things. One, when Audrey's talking, I recommend that you go up to the View tab in your upper right-hand corner and put it in speaker side-by-side view. You'll be able to see her PowerPoint and her thumbnail if you want to do it that way. And then the second thing is, I'd just like to ask a few questions about you. You've already told us who you are. And Taylor, you're going to have to launch this poll because I don't have access to it, but we just like to find out a little more specifically. So Taylor, do you mind launching the first poll? So if you're able to complete the poll, the first question is, what size company do you work for? If you're retired, you can just not participate in that particular question. And then the second question is, does your business currently offer a retirement savings plan for employees? So if you could just share your answers with us, that would be terrific. And then Taylor, give it about 45 seconds and then you can just end the poll. All right, can we see those results, Taylor? Oops, there we go. All right, so almost everybody here, actually, most of the people here work for larger businesses with over 50 employees, but 22% work for businesses with under 5. So that's it, and nobody works for anything in between. So that's kind of interesting. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk to you about this proposal that we have that's about to hit the legislature. And at the end, we're going to ask you a couple more questions about it. So thank you so much for sharing your information with us. If you still have a polling question on your screen, you can just click that X in the upper right-hand corner to get rid of that. So Audrey Suga Nakagawa is my colleague who I have the pleasure of introducing. She is the Associate State Director of Advocacy for AARP Hawaii. But I should say that before she worked for AARP Hawaii, she was very instrumental in helping get the Aging Disability Resource Center on Hawaii Island set up. I remember attending meetings with her long before I knew that she was going to be my colleague. She works on public policy issues and legislation that impact the lives of Hawaii's older adults and their families, such as caregiver support, affordable housing for seniors, fraud prevention, elder abuse protection, and pedestrian safety. She is a specialist on aging issues and elder care services in Hawaii and has extensive experience in healthcare administration. So without further ado, Audrey Suga Nakagawa.
Thank you so much, Jackie. And thank you everyone for allowing me this time to share with you and talk about the retirement savings crisis that Hawaii is facing and what we're doing to provide a solution to this. So if you bear with me, I'm going to share my screen and put a PowerPoint presentation. You know, we did test this earlier and it did work. So I'm not sure why this is doing this now, but of
This is
course,
fine.
all right. So everyone, again, just from the very beginning, you know, AARP has been working on this issue for the past 7 years. It's an issue that not only Hawaii, but across the country, we see this growing crisis that people are just not saving enough for their future. And so this is something that we really have been working very diligently with the legislators and trying to see if we can pass legislation that could really help our hundreds of thousands of workers who work for small businesses. They tend to work for small businesses who do not have an easy access way to save for their own retirement. Okay, so, you know, just to start off, what do you think you need for a secure retirement? Usually these are the combinations, right? You need to have some kind of a savings. You need to have an access to healthcare and have good health insurance. A pension would be really great, but we know that many companies don't offer that anymore. And of course, Social Security, and finally, the opportunity to work if you need or want to. See, so it's kind of like a puzzle. You need to have a combination of these different elements in order for you to have a financial security so that you can retire well. We know that people cannot just rely on Social Security alone. It was never intended to provide full coverage for your retirement. It was just something to help provide some kind of a steady income for our seniors. So it was never intended, you know, that it will cover everything. And just to look at the cost of what you're getting, the average person in Hawaii, their their annual Social Security is only about $20,000, okay? So given that, and when you look at the cost of living, especially in Hawaii, we know that that Social Security alone is not going to cover it. And if you see it's $26,000, and that just covers food, utilities, and healthcare. We didn't even factor housing in it. And so even if you should have a mortgage that is paid off, we do know that you're going to have rising costs by property taxes, especially with the crazy real estate value that we have right now, or just the maintenance of your home. And of course, if you're a renter, you can imagine that your monthly rent will continue to skyrocket. So, you know, this is a real big concern that people cannot just live on retirement, and they could have to have the other elements to help with their retirement security. So how big is this problem? Well, you know, recently AARP took a poll, and we took a poll among those people between the age of 18 and 64. And we found that 76% of our Hawaii residents feels they do not have enough saved for their retirement. They really wish they even had saved more, even if they're getting close to that retirement. So it is an issue and concern of many, many of our people who are currently in the workforce and who are getting close to retirement as well. So you can see that we have it broken down. In the neighbor islands, there's even a higher concern, so slightly higher than the state average versus the state of those who live in Honolulu. What makes it even much more concerning is that we have 200,000 workers who are in our workforce who work for small businesses or independently that do not have access to an employer-based retirement plan. So their companies are too small, and it's very hard for them to offer like a 401k that you might see for a larger employer like the banks or big companies or you know, the state itself. And it's really of concern that these individuals will not be saving on their own. We know that people can go to the banks and open up their IRA, but we know that, you know, maybe only 5% will actually really do that. And so given that particular situation, we're very concerned that half of our households will not be able to really enjoy the so-called the golden year. It's more going to be like a bronze year. So, you know, sadly, you know, half of our households will be at high risk of not being able to afford the everyday expenses like food and housing. And especially as you get older, one of the other rising costs will be healthcare, and especially the cost of prescription drugs. So that even compounds the problem and makes it even much more pertinent that people really have adequate savings. So, does this something that worries everybody? Yes, it does, and we also had taken a poll among the small businesses, and they themselves are saying, hey, we're very worried that our employees, our workers are not saving enough for themselves. And as a taxpayer, this eventually might come back to also really be an additional burden to the state. So if more people are not able to be able to, live off of their own savings and retirement funds, they're going to become dependent on the public social assistance program. And that as a taxpayer will become a burden on us. So, what does that mean? And what that means is that if we do nothing, if the state of Hawaii continues to remain status quo and don't take some kind of action to help more people to save, it's going to cost us about $1 billion in terms of a public assistance program and also the loss of revenue of economic activity over the next 15 years. So this is why it's really important that we start taking actions now. This past year, the state legislature passed a Senate resolution in which we established a retirement savings task force. And in this task force, they looked at the possibility and the feasibility of what we can do to offer something that would help, especially our workforce who don't have access to retirement savings. We do know from research that 15 are 15 times more likely to save when they can do so out of a paycheck. We also know that 20% is 20 times more that these workers, if it's something that's coming out of the paycheck, automatically deducted from the paycheck and enrolled into this program, that they will be likely to be saving for their retirement. So this is something that is very important in terms of what kind of model that would be that we could offer for our workforce. So the task force had put in a recommendation that the state pursue a model called the Automatic Ira. And this is a model that has been successfully stood up by the states of Oregon, California, Illinois. It's going to be followed by Colorado, New Mexico, I believe Virginia, Pennsylvania, and one of the Carolinas, the North Carolina, and other states are all looking to set up a program. And basically, it's a public-private partnership in which the state would facilitate this program and make it easy for employers who don't have access to a retirement plan to sign up their employees, and they could participate in this fashion. So this is the model that the state would like to pursue, and there's a bill that is going forward to have this program stood up. So what makes this program very attractive is that it's very simple and easy for employers. So they would not have the administrative or managerial costs. And basically all they have to do is, register their company and say, yes, we do not have a 401k, we do not have a retirement plan, and here are my employees who would be eligible to participate in this program. And that is basically what they would do. So they would be identifying their employees. They would distribute the informational materials, and this is where the program would be distributing all the marketing materials of what are the investment options for them. And then once they enroll, the employees are signed up and they identify, how much they want to contribute from their paycheck. They set up the payroll deduction process and they remit the contributions to the plan provider on a timely basis. So very simple, it's low cost to the employers. And then it just makes it a lot easy. And then it does put into the control for the employees who would then be able to opt out if they're not interested, but also to decide how much they would like to contribute to out of their paycheck for this particular program. Small businesses are always in a concern, and they really do value their employees. And they would like to do something like this for them, but it's really hard. We know that from our polls that it's just too costly for them to do that. It's too complicated, and so too time consuming. So having a program like this where the state would step in and provide the administrative framework, hire the plan administrator and do the record keeping will make it a lot easier for them to participate and provide this particular good benefit for their employees. So as I mentioned to you that there are already 3 major states that have been participating in this. Oregon was the first one in 2017, followed closely by California and Illinois. And to date, 45,000 employers have signed up. And these, again, are these companies that do not offer a 401k or a retirement plan for their employees. And close to 421,000 funds, individual accounts, have been opened by the employees. And to date, it's about $380 million in assets. So these accounts, these are auto IRAs. And so they're IRA accounts, it's portable. So even if the employee should change jobs or go even move to another state, that account goes with them. So this is what makes it very appealing and very simple for them to participate in. We took a poll, the task force took a poll and said, do business owners and do the employees support something like this if the state was to facilitate and stand up a program like this? And this was the response: yes. Both the workers as well as small business owners said they would support a model like this, where it's a simple public-private partnership that would be easy for their workers to participate in. So, this is something that the task force really took to heart, given that, we have been facing a very strenuous economic downturn. And, given in that type of climate, how would they feel about doing something like this? And the answer was, you could see what the results were. And I think even more so, people have really come close to home about the importance of having some kind of a savings, whether it's for emergency during an economic downturn or for a long-term fix for their retirement. So I hope this works, guys, but there is a video that I wanted to share.
But it's hard to read the writing.
On the taxpayers, and if you don't have a savings account, all these people that retired and broke, that's a burden on the taxpayers and the businesses.
I am 67 years old and I'm still working. I could technically retire, but I don't have any other savings, so I don't think I can survive on my own. So I chose to continue to work.
I think you should do it now. Savings is important. If the small businesses agree to collaborate and the state can pass legislation, I think it's a great idea.
If I had payroll deduction, I would take advantage of that because it's easier to save that way. And when you do a payroll deduction, what you don't see, you don't miss.
You get your paycheck and you budget your life around what you receive for your paycheck. So if the money's taken out before that, then it's not something that you notice. So I think it's a lot easier, and the money will accumulate. I understand the value of good employees. If you don't have good workers, your business doesn't succeed. So we want to take care of our employees, and if this is going to help them in the long term, I'm all for it.
So I'm going to be sending everyone a PDF copy of this PowerPoint presentation. And we do have this particular video on Facebook. So I'll send Taylor the link to that so you can see the video much more clearer, because I understand you couldn't see the small writing of it. So just to let you know, that information will be forthcoming. See if I can move on. So, as I'm wrapping this up, just want to let you know that there is going to be legislation coming through to introduce a bill to stand up this auto IRA program for the state of Hawaii. And again, it is designed for those employees who work for small companies or who work for employers who do not have access to a retirement plan, and we will make it accessible for them to start saving some directly out of their paycheck. So we're hoping that we would be able to gain your support for this particular bill. We think it's a very viable, important part for our retirement future. We have several leads. Senator Taniguchi is the labor chair, and Rep. Onishi both served on the Hawaii task force. Please share your support and let them know how you feel about this, that you think it's very important to your organization or to your coworkers. Rep. Onishi is from the Big Island, so if you know him especially, please let him know that you've heard this particular presentation, and we're hoping that we would ask for your support in this. We're also looking for opportunities to continue to promote this program and let people know about what's happening. And so if you belong to other organizations, other Rotary clubs or business associations or groups that would also be interested in hearing about this, please let me know. I'd be happy to do the presentation, and hopefully that I won't have the same technical problems that I had this time. And so you have my email here. And like I mentioned, I will be giving a PDF copy of this particular PowerPoint, also as additional handouts that can be distributed to you. So I'm going to stop sharing right now. So at this time, do you have any questions for me?
Audrey, Amy had a question that she put in the chat, which was, can a sole employer take advantage of this program if you don't have any employees?
Yeah, so some of the other states, they have allowed this as well. And so, if this program goes forward for Hawaii, there is going to be a board that is going to set up the rulemaking. And one of the areas that we are looking at definitely is the independent workers, the independent proprietors. And so, yes, the answer is yes. Oh. So should I answer the question about?
Yeah,
Gordon?
so Gordon, I'll ask Audrey, and folks, you can feel free, by the way, to ask your questions out loud, but for people in the chat, I'll be your voice. So Gordon wants to know, what are the pushbacks from the legislators?
Okay, so the legislature in the past, and primarily the Senate, has always been gung-ho in total support of this program. We've had more of a pushback from the House. And one of them was that they really would like to see more data, because we have been advocating for this bill for the past 7 years. So this is the reason why we had the task force developed. And the task force did all the research. They saw the presentations, hearing from the experts from the national, from the other states, and put forward this full report. So I think many of the issues and questions that the legislators had is now being answered. There are still some concerns whether or not this is a program that, some of our working poor families, the ones that are really living from paycheck to paycheck, can they really afford even $100? And that's been some of the questions that they had, that, the high cost of living makes it really impossible for people. And so there's two things to answer that. One is the fact that, yes, people, we have found from the Aloha United Ways, we've done all the research, they say, yes, people can afford to, save their money if it's something that's really simple, that's out of sight, out of mind. And we also know that if people really cannot, they can opt out of this and join it at a later time when there's more financial, they're a lot more able to make some small contributions toward the retirement. So the legislature, the ones that we're going to be having the most work to try to convince will be on the House side. And, it might be because there's pressing issues that they're trying to also address as well.
Audrey, before you go further, can you clarify what the average income from the people participating in Oregon and the other states is?
Yeah, so the average income actually is about $29,000. And the Oregon and I think in California, and they're looking at the average contribution, it starts about $129. So it's a very modest contributions, but we know that as people get more comfortable, and of course, as salary increases, the contribution will start increasing. So that's what start building up the retirement source. So it's not something that definitely, people who are making $100,000, dollars, they are probably already making their own contributions as well. But it really helps the working class, the ones that really are mostly are working for small businesses and have a much more modest income.
Audrey,
Thank you.
can I ask a couple questions? So I guess my first question is, it sounds like it would be optional for the businesses, and then it would be optional for the employees. Is that correct?
Not quite. So it would not be optional for the businesses who do not have a retirement plan. So if your company has one, you're good. If you do not, then you'll be required to register and register your employees. For the employees, the best practice, we know this, and I think for you being from Edward Jones and a financial planner, we know that the best practice is that they participate and they can opt out as opposed to opt in. And so that seems to be the best practice for people to participate and start savings for, whether it's for their own, for their own retirement. So that's the practice that we would also be recommending. And the task force has also recommended that.
Okay, so it's not finalized yet, but you're saying it's not optional for the businesses to participate, and it's going to be initially, they're going to be signed, all employees would be signed up, and they would have to choose not to participate.
The employees. And again, it is for the businesses who do not currently offer our 401k or any type of retirement plan on their own. So, we've seen some of the practices in Oregon. There were some companies that said, oh, I don't have a 401k, and the Oregon plan, Oregon Saves, got established. And go, you know what? That's okay. I'm going to go just sign up, go with my financial plan. I'm going to set up a 401k for my employees. So that said, okay, that exempted it out from participating in the state's program. So again, it's really designed for these companies that really have a hard time offering something like this for their employees. So it's just making it a lot easier for them to have this option have this program for their workers.
Yeah, and I think you would get a lot more participation, but also I think you need to make sure you understand that there are employees who, even when the employer wants to match them and give them free money, still won't contribute. So
yes, and we recognize that too, and we know that it's about 30%. 30% of them are opting out. Yes, we definitely know that, right? And the experiences of the other states have seen the same. They said it's about 30% are opting out.
So that's not going to help taxpayers down the road supporting them with their retirement, but it's still better than nothing, I guess. So,
and you got the other 70%, right?
Right.
So that's, it's better than not doing anything.
And then I have not, because we're not in a state that's done this, and then of course I don't understand the details of how it works. Do you know if there's any place to look to find out how that would work?
Yes, so you can go to Oregon. What I'll do is I'll forward the websites to the Oregon, Illinois, and California. I'll give that information to Taylor, and you can see how their program works. They have their own plan administrators, they have their own program investment managers, and they're going gangbuster right now in enrolling all these employees.
I want to just mention, I have talked to a couple of financial planners that I know about it, and they both said the same thing. They said that the people that this program is targeting are not people that they would be targeting with their business because they just don't make enough money. So I think one thing that probably we should think about is this is for people who a lot of times nobody will even sell them a program for their employees because they have too few employees and it would cost too much to set the program up. So I want to just throw that out there.
I agree with all of that except for I agree with all that except for the fact that yes, if you're talking about a 401k, it's expensive to set up, but there are other plans that are a lot cheaper. So just so you know. Yeah.
Possibly. I just I presented to the Association of Residential Care Homes a few years ago, and most of them told me that when they had tried to set something up, all that they could find was life insurance, that nobody would actually offer them a plan beyond life insurance. So, I don't know if everybody knows where to go. That's another concern, but I just, that's what people have experienced.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other things, Kaylee here, Keith, is that what's also included in the proposal, depending on, what you start with and what you end with can be two different things, is to include financial literacy. So what we hope is that people just really, at minimum, get in the habit of saving and seeing how that accrues over time. And, you know, maybe they'll want something that's not as basic as the state plan and want to, you know, shift their Roth IRA to another, you know, form of a different vehicle with their own with their own investment. So the hope is that for those who, you know, hopefully get in the habit of saving, if they accrue enough too, is the degree to which they have equity to perhaps use that as a collateral or, you know, for other things. So that's the issues. How do you deal with people who, the concept is, Gordon, you asked the question, what's the pushback? Well, some people are too poor to save. And we've found out that there isn't such a thing. Whether they start off with $20, $30, $40, $50, once they see that money coming in, they actually get in the habit of beginning to save. The other thing we didn't share with you, and it gets into the nitty gritty a little bit, is there is a cost to standing up the program. The state will absorb the cost to stand up the program. That's why the employer isn't having to cover the cost. The cost is entirely borne by the state. However, over time, as you have more people investing and participating, the program is meant to become fully self-sustaining within 5 to 7 years. So again, the thought is that there's no cost to the employer because they're basically involved in the administrative process, which is yes, I'm registering, and my the administrator contacts the employees. And so some of the cost is, in the end, is somewhat borne by the employee, meaning there's a fee or percentage, and the intent is to keep that as low as possible because the state will recognize that many of the participants are with small businesses or are necessarily potentially in that lower income, middle to lower income bracket. And again, as I'm not sure who said it, maybe Audrey, if you're making 170,000, actually, probably some people who are making 100,000 still aren't also saving for retirement. But say you're in that higher bracket, you know, you as a client to a financial planner is just a little bit more appealing, and it's just a reality. It's not a criticism at all. Anyway, the hope is that we can get it passed. It's going to be a hard push. We sometimes, myself, because I get very myopic, I don't understand why people would be opposed to trying to find a way to help people to save for their future. That's pretty much where we're at. And if you folks have any thoughts about what you think would be a problem or concerns about a program like this, that'd be helpful input too.
Or more questions for Audrey.
Oh, absolutely. More questions for Audrey.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. I was wondering what kind of impact it would be on the business. How much time would be needed to establish the program and to keep it going?
Okay, so for the impact on the businesses is a very good question. It's very minimal. Basically, it's a registration, telling them and declaring that, yes, we do not offer a retirement plan. And yes, I will be giving you, identify the workers who will work for my company. And then from there, you know, the program administrator will go and do all the marketing, information providing and counseling to the individual workers. And then once the workers identify that they're going to be participating, they're going to be contributing, you know, like a percentage of, let's say 5%, for example, then the employer will just have to make sure that they do work with their payroll and set up the payroll deduction process and make the employee contribution go right into their fund. So that's their part of the contribution and time. So a lot of the companies, either they work with their own bookkeeping or they do it themselves. They said it might just be another hour or so, depending if they have to hire a payroll company to do this. But otherwise, most of them are able to manage quite well.
I see that Nick has his hand up.
Yes, Nick.
Hey, Audrey, thanks. I'm really excited to hear this, but I just wanted to share some insight from, the latter part of human life. I think in Hawaii, and thanks to you, the ADRC has been just incredible with educating people about their options for, in-home care and long-term care. And as you know, the long-term care costs in Hawaii especially are very, very high. So, when I watch caregivers that are, in their 50s, 60s, or even 70s, look at how that plays out for their spouse or even their parents, I've heard often where it's like, well, no sense I save because it's going to go right back to that facility and there goes my retirement, which yes. So I'm wondering about, as generations, I'm kind of in the middle, but, it's almost like for those older folks, unless you save an exorbitant amount of your paycheck, that's kind of what it looks like. And I think I'm also comparing this to the fact that I see a lot of people working into their 70s. And so that space of what you're going to use that retirement for is small, right? And it's likely going to be healthcare, long-term care, whatever. So I've heard families also say, well, if MedQuest, for example, is the biggest payer of long-term care, right, in the state, they're just like, okay, well, that's going to pay for it anyway because I'm going to wipe out even $100,000 will go in a year, right? So I guess I'm just kind of thinking about the cultural, societal aspects of how this may not help maybe the people in that age bracket, and really aiming for my age and younger, and because I'm putting myself in that younger category right now. But it's just something I wanted to bring up from the field.
Yeah, thank you very much. And you're right. I mean, the younger you are, the longer you have to save and the more you will save. But even in the short run, just having an extra $15,000, $20,000, let's say that's all you got time to build for, it's more than what you would have otherwise, right? And so would that make a difference whether you can prolong or not tap onto your Social Security? Because there's some that say don't take your Social Security until you're age 70 so you can maximize your Social Security income. Maybe that would buy you that time to do that. So again, it never hurts to save. Nobody will say I didn't save enough. We also know that in terms of it's not just paying for long-term care, right? It's paying for other things as well. So this is why, again, anything to enhance more than just depending on Social Security is going to be a bonus. Any other questions?
Hi, this is Nick again. So I know that your last slide talked about the bills, but there's no actual bill number yet, yeah?
Not yet.
Okay, thanks.
We'll let you know as soon as the bill comes out, because it should be by next week. It has to be by next week, so there will be a bill number, and we'll again share that with you and keep you all apprised as to the bills.
I see Helen has put a question in the chat, and Helen, feel free to expand on this, but would there be easy access to funds? And Helen, I don't know if you mean portability, but let's just assume easy access to making those if you move employers. But if you want to clarify, please jump in. And then Audrey, what about survivor benefits?
So my question is more on, let's say that they've been into the program for years and now they're ready to retire. Access to the funds can they do a lump sum? Is there like an age that you can, kind of like what our 401ks or our 403bs have in place? And then what about if they expire prior to the ability to pull out those funds, then what happens then?
Okay. I don't have the very specific details on that because, again, this is something that will be part of the rulemaking. And so when there is going to be a board, the legislation does require a board to be established to oversee the program. And they will put up all the different rules. I imagine that being these are IRAs or the Roth IRAs, will probably follow the same type of requirements and withdrawals process. So what you're asking for would, like I said, I am not a financial planner per se, and maybe Keith might be able to answer that one, but it will be part of the rulemaking that the board will have to establish. And again, remember, we're not the first state to participate in this. And so we have the Oregon, California, and the others that are already have pioneered this. And one of the options that Hawaii may have is that we could do an interstate compact agreement. So we could kind of like just join forces and piggyback with one of these other states. So we may not have to stand this up by ourselves alone and start from scratch. We could also do this type of interstate agreement. And so, you know, we would be able to take on, you know, just jump in where they are already at, and in terms of getting the program started for Hawaii. So that is another option. And we actually, Hawaii has already done that with other programs. So the College 529 program, for example, which is administered under the Budget and Finance Department, they have an interstate compact with other states. So they said this is nothing new to them. This is something that they're very familiar with. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, everyone, again, for, you know, allowing us to present this to you all. And again, we really would welcome your feedback. And then, of course, if there's a follow-up where you would like us to do an additional presentation to other groups, we're also looking to spotlight organizations that would like to share their story so that we could, you know, make this much more relevant to our communities. So we look for volunteers for you to come and tell, just be an example of how this, perhaps will definitely be of assistance to your program, or you've seen something similar or something that has not been, and it's been a struggle for individuals who just did not save enough. So, those are the real human interest story that can really make it relevant and bring it home to everyone. So I'm going to turn this over to Jackie. I think there is a follow-up, for evaluation.
Yes, thank you. Taylor just launched the poll. So the question was, this presentation informative or helpful? Yes or no? How was the level of detail? Was it just right? Too general, too much detail? And then, do you think a retirement savings program like this could benefit Hawaii? Yes or no? And then while you're answering that, I'm going to do a random number draw for the people who are left on the line, and we'll have our lucky winner for the gift card. So hold on 1 second for that.
And then while that's going on, I do see questions about the presentation. We will have the recorded version available on YouTube probably within a week or so. So we'll send that out to you guys, and then we will also share the presentation to everyone.
Okay, so it looks like the winner of the gift card is Keola.
Oh,
congratulations,
well,
Keola.
thank you.
So Taylor will forward me your address, and that gift card's going to arrive to you in the mail. Thanks so much for participating. And you can go ahead and stop the poll, Taylor. So mahalo, everybody.
Information, Audrey. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Audrey, Jackie, Kelly, for providing this. Again, it's our relationships with your organization and other organizations that allow us to provide this kind of information to our members. Audrey, if you are looking for chamber assistance regarding testimony, shoot me information, maybe in a one-pager, that I can share with our respective committees and leadership, and then kind of go from there. Okay. Again, thank you for doing this. We do have a couple of upcoming events that I wanted to tell you folks about and kind of remind you about. It's our annual Whitey Rose Memorial President's Cup Golf Tournament. It's kicking off on February 12th and running for a month through Sunday, March 13th. This is our major fundraiser for the chamber. It's with member support that we're able to keep the chamber going, through this tournament, through sponsorships, players. So if I'm sure all of you have seen the flyer that's been shared, but if you're interested in any sponsorships, prize donations, we'd love to have your support. And if you golf, just as good. Come in as a twosome and sign up online. A lot of information is available on our website. Wanted to give you a teaser for those of you that enjoy tequila. We're having a virtual tequila tasting after hours event. It's on February 10th. Yeah, Thursday, February 10th from 5:30 to 7:30. We've received commitments from Cadota Liquor to provide, again, samples. And we're trying to work out an arrangement with one of our member restaurants to possibly put together a appetizer platter. So stay tuned, save the date. The world doesn't survive with just wine and whiskey. Tequila makes it go around too. So hope you guys can join us.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all I have. If anybody wants to hang around, talk story a little bit, feel free to. You can eat lunch with us if you want. And if you have any other questions for our speakers. But thank you for being here. Thanks for taking the time. We really appreciate you guys. Thanks, Zach. Oh, and happy Friday.
Ooh, happy Friday.
Yes, happy Aloha Friday. Thanks again. I'm off to another meeting.
Bye.
Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Aloha.
Good to see you guys. Thanks, Zach.